You're listening to Olivia's Book Club, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.
Welcome to Olivia's Book Club, and I'm your host, Olivia Fierro, and today we're going to be talking with the author of a novel that is described as the most fun retelling of Emma since Clueless. That's big. And because of that, I'm asking you stick around after the author interview for a moment with Margaret. Margaret is back and recommending some great books to add to your TBR list that are sort of classics with a twist as well. But now let's get to our guest today, who is actually in studio in real life, so I don't even know what to do or where to look or anything. So it's exciting. Taylor Hahn is an attorney, and her debut novel is The Lifestyle, which I'm describing as a beach read that will make you blush. So Taylor, thank you so much for being here. Congratulations and OMG.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So you're here in real life because you grew up in Phoenix.
Yes.
So you're here in our station's podcast studio upstairs from our TV news set. And that's a real treat because generally we're Zooming with people from all over the country. So this is novel number one. I'm sure there's more in store. It's I want to give everybody a little warning. The topic is juicy, it is spicy, and we've got Nick here manning our audio and video controls, and he might start blushing also. So just be warned, this is not a book for the little ones, okay? Taylor, how did you come up with this as your topic?
So I was at a bachelorette party, and I overheard someone talking about how his sister was a swinger. Mm-hmm. And I thought that would make a really funny book because there's so much that could happen. There's so much tension, especially when, like it is in the book, it's a small group of friends, so they know each other really, really well. So I felt like there were so many directions that could go. There could be a lot of jealousy and secrecy, but also a lot of fun and experimentation. So I thought that would be really, really funny, and it kind of stuck with me. I couldn't let the idea go.
Uh-huh.
And as I started digging into it, then I got more motivated to really tell a story of a woman finding herself. And yes, it's about swinging, but it is also about so much more than that. And swinging is more like the vehicle through which she finally owns up to her desires, not just in the bedroom, but also outside of it.
So we're talking about Georgina, who is the center of our story, and she is a young lady who seems to have it all. She's got the handsome husband, good marriage, incredible job. She considers herself to be, and of course I was just thinking about Clueless because we just mentioned it, and I'm literally picturing Alicia Silverstone needing to, help everybody because she just is good at everything and knows how to dress and what to do and how to succeed at work and how to have a relationship and look good and all of that stuff. So she seems to have it all together, but as we know, most people who have it all together maybe have a greater fear of losing it all.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. So she has this false sense of perfection, and when it all falls apart, I'm not really giving anything away because this is on the book jacket, but she catches her husband having an affair.
Yes.
And so everything falls apart for her very, very quickly. And she is so afraid to lose that idea of perfection that she decides she will fix it. And that's how they end up becoming swingers.
Yeah, she needs control, and she's going to figure this out. And like you said, runs into somebody who seems to have a whole new lease on life and has figured everything out because they have adopted the quote-unquote lifestyle. Yes. So a lot of times I love reading thrillers in particular. That's probably my most common genre that I'm picking up books from. And I love talking to authors about, like, when they're doing their research and, people probably think that they're, planning a murder or some weird, crazy psycho because of what they're researching or the kinds of questions they're asking people or trying to dig into, people's psyche about this or that. I'm very curious / scared about the research that you did for this book. And I know that you are, like Georgina, a married attorney. So you present this as, this is the novel I need to write, and what does your partner say?
He was always really supportive. Thankfully, he didn't think I was trying to send him a secret message. If I were trying to send him a message, I think there would be an easier way than writing an entire novel.
Man, she really doesn't like a direct conversation. She wrote a novel. She got a publisher.
Yeah.
She got a book tour. But finally, I'm getting the hint.
Yeah, I did do a lot of research for the novel, though, because I didn't know anything about the lifestyle. I was coming at it like the main character who had never even thought about it really. And I think it was helpful that I came from that perspective because I, along with Georgina, was learning about this world. And with that comes a lot of emotions, nerves and excitement and curiosity. And so I was able to write through all of that.
So as you're doing your research and talking to people about it, I mean, the funny thing that starts happening to Georgina is as she's exploring this, even just by questions, she's finding out, like what? A lot of people are in this that I just had no idea. I mean, it's kind of, you realize there's a whole nother world going on, and the rest of us just are not aware of it. So did you find that it's more prevalent than most of us would realize?
I think so. I mean, I think even just researching swingers clubs in New York City, which I did Google many times, they're very popular. And I lived in New York for 10 years and I didn't know that. So it was very eye-opening for me.
Okay, so you're not like I talked to JoJo Moyes, and she talked about coming from England to Kentucky 3 times to do research for Giver of Stars because she needed to experience the smell and the sound of the all of this stuff. So you were not totally immersing yourself in this to write this.
No, I never did in-person research. I mostly read everything I could get my hands on. And there was a reality show called Neighbors with Benefits.
Oh, okay.
That I found pretty helpful. That was about this suburb in Ohio where everyone was swinging with each other. It got canceled, sadly.
So I was thinking there's got to be a reality show on this, I'm sure. You don't really have to leave the house to learn everything in the world we know right now. That's the beauty of modern technology. So, okay, so Georgina, though, I found her to be just a very charming person. I mean, she's very well-intentioned. She's funny. She's a good friend. She cares about people, and she genuinely wants the best for the people in her life. Introduce for us, just briefly, the other main characters.
Yes. Okay. So it is an ensemble cast. There are 6 characters. Georgina is married to Nathan, so they're the central couple, and then she has 2 best friends, Nora and Felix. And Felix is in a serious relationship. Nora's married. In both of their relationships, they're also having some issues. And so they decide to come along for the ride. And all of them, while they don't have the same outcome, they're all benefited in a way by this experience. They all get to know themselves better. They all explore their relationships in a new way. So it ends up being a really positive journey for them.
It's an extreme version of sort of, I mean, anything that you do that puts yourself out of your comfort zone, it leads to growth, right?
Exactly.
Or some kind of, change leads to growth. And so they're all on some sort of a path where they're realizing things about themselves.
Exactly. And I really, really wanted to tell the story of a woman who is owning her desires, and there's no shame around that. I didn't want her to be embarrassed. I didn't want people to make fun of her. And in this environment, people are really supportive.
Yeah.
Like when she goes to her first swingers party, she meets the other people and they all help her. They tell her some tips and suggestions and kind of what the rules are. And they pull her in and they encourage her to explore that side of herself.
So let me ask you, as you are in planning to start writing, I mean, let's kind of dial back. So this is your first novel, and I know that you write and you contribute some columns, and you've been writing. Probably you've considered yourself a writer for a long time, I'm guessing, right? Did you always dream of writing a book? Have you always been an avid reader? How did this begin? Because I always imagine when people are going through law school and starting to work as an attorney, you don't have time for anything else, yet somehow people do.
I did always want to be a writer, but I was always really afraid of pursuing it and being that vulnerable and putting myself out there and failing. So I always ignored that creative side of myself and went to law school. But then when I became a lawyer and I was working really hard, I couldn't forget about that dream. So I started writing on the side, and it was really my outlet. It really made me happy. So I could never let go of it. And then when I had this idea, I thought, okay, this is my chance. If I'm going to write a book, it will be this one. And so I stuck with it. It was really hard. I really had no social life for a few years.
A few years. So now here you are.
Yeah, it worked out, I guess.
So I saw on your website, and it really stuck out to me that there was a Peloton moment that is pivotally important in this new adventure of yours of branching out as a writer. Talk about that with me.
I'm a big Peloton fan.
Me too.
Okay, good. We should be friends.
Yes, please.
So there is a scene in the novel where there is a naked Janet Jackson dance party. And I originally had the characters go to their first party, and it was fine. They met the swingers. They kind of pair up, went to their private space, and then they all went home. And I thought, I feel like this could be more surprising and tantalizing. So I was kind of thinking about what could happen. And I was doing a Peloton ride with Robin. And Robin's a big Janet Jackson fan. And she played the song Nasty in a ride. And it just hit me. I thought, I absolutely have to work this song in. So I literally got off the bike and went to my computer and started writing.
That's amazing. You need to let Robin know this. You got to send her a copy of this book.
Yeah, I really want her to find out about it.
We will try to help spread the word, because that is really incredible. You never know. I mean, the inspiration can hit you when you're on that Peloton.
It really does. I think I have my best thoughts on the Peloton.
So you created a whole playlist for this book, which is one of my favorite things that has been kind of a new marketing technique for some of the some books coming out, and I think it's genius.
Yeah.
And so if you look for The Lifestyle on Spotify, you can find it.
Yes.
And these are all artists that Georgina loves, and I assume you love, right?
Yes. I think Georgina is around my age, and so we grew up with the same music. So there's Britney Spears on it. Celine Dion is on it. I loved Celine Dion when I was growing up. I understand now that Gen Z is also getting into Celine Dion.
Okay.
But I feel like they're kind of taking credit for what we already knew, which is that Celine Dion is amazing. And then there's some new artists on it too.
Yeah.
So
and Whitney Houston, of course.
Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can't go without Whitney Houston.
Agreed.
So how did you feel when you finished the book? And I mean, there's one experience of writing the book. There's another experience of breaking into the business and shopping the book and doing all of this other stuff. What did you find to be the most challenging part? And how do you feel now that you're able to exhale and that this is out in the world?
I would say the most challenging part was keeping going without knowing what would happen. As you're writing a book, you just never know whether you're going to get an agent or whether the book is going to sell. So you really have to love the process. And thankfully, I love writing, so it was a fun way for me to spend my time. But emotionally, sometimes I would ask myself, am I just wasting my time? But I couldn't let it go. I loved it. And now that it's out there, it's just so exciting to walk into a bookstore and see it on a shelf. I mean, that's surreal.
That's got to be an incredible, just kind of out-of-body experience, especially if you I love to wander in a library or a bookstore. And I know that you've got, among some of the things you're doing to promote the book, an evening at Changing Hands Bookstore, which is just an incredible space. And there's just so much to look at. And to have that happen in your hometown, it's going to be just a really amazing thing.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It'll be some people that I went to high school with, so some old friends, hopefully some new friends, and my family. So they have to get ready for the scene I'm planning to read.
So, did you have any trepidation about sharing this with anybody in your life? Because, it is so silly for people to think that everything is autobiographical. I mean, fiction writers, creative people are inspired by everything all over. An article you read, something that pops up in the news, whatever, and then comes the seed of a story. But people can't help themselves, right? But think, oh my gosh, now I know something about Taylor I had no idea.
Yeah.
And, in 7th grade, I never would have expected this of her. So you have to give like the warnings to the parents and all that.
Yeah, I did. I didn't tell my family what it was about for a while, but now it's all out there.
So will writing be your full-time life? And also, what can you share? I know a lot of people who will listen we're all avid readers, but I think people secretly have a desire to write something somewhere, sometime, and have somebody care about reading it. Yeah. So what did you think about breaking into the business part of it, about selling the book and about finding that agent? Was it very difficult for you? Did it all fall into place easier than you thought it would?
I was somewhere in between, I think. Querying agents is difficult. That's the process of sending out a letter to agents along with a section of the book and saying, will you please represent me? So I did that, and it's scary because you're really putting yourself out there, and they're really busy. They're all incredibly nice, but a lot of people don't respond, and so you just have to take that for what it is and push forward. So eventually, it really helped me to find a writing community, and that's what I would recommend to anyone who's interested. I started taking classes. They're available in most cities. I was living in New York at the time, so that's where I really invested. Once I had that community, it all became easier, and then I ended up getting my agent through someone that I knew in my writing community.
So I think, and we think of writing as such a solitary experience, but it seems to be that it's critically important to be able to share that process and kind of work through it with other people and feed that creativity and vice versa, right?
Yes, I absolutely think so. I was taking classes where we would share our writing and workshop it. It was incredibly helpful because even if you're a natural storyteller and you love to write, writing a novel is still not intuitive. You have to learn how to do it, and you have to practice. And sharing your work and getting feedback is incredibly valuable. So I would say to someone, even if there are no classes in your area, find someone else who likes to write, meet up over a glass of wine, and share your writing and give each other feedback nicely.
Nicely, yeah. Yeah, it's got to be scary at first.
It is. But I never had a bad experience. Everyone was always helpful and supportive.
But if you do have some bumps at the beginning, it prepares you, I suppose, for the business because inevitably rejections come. Now, we were saying we were so excited for you to actually be in real life in the building because normally we're Zooming with everybody. But one of the few people we've had actually here in the podcast studio for the book club conversations was TJ Newman, who authored Falling, who used to work at Changing Hands and grew up in the Valley as well, and said she got, I want to say she said 43 rejections prior to her agency and the whole thing. And, it was a huge book and it's being a movie, made into a movie and all of the stuff and all the headlines and all the everything overnight sensation. But that's a lot of rejection.
Yeah. And I think that's really common.
Yeah.
I just last week heard the author of The Sympathizer speak, that novel that won the Pulitzer Prize. And he said that out of all of the publishing houses that his agent sent that book to, only one made an offer on the book.
Wow.
I can't remember the exact number of rejections, but it was at least 20.
Wow.
And it won the Pulitzer Prize.
Isn't that, oh my, it's incredible. I mean,
yeah.
And then you think of something as just a complete work of art.
Yeah.
So you put all of this time into, how long would you say went into this? And I know that you kind of like even sort of shifted up the rest of your life a little bit. So what will happen next? Do you already have an idea brewing? Are you working on a novel number 2?
Yes,
Okay.
I am working on novel number 2. It's not a sequel. It's a Christmas novel.
Now that's a different thing,
Very,
right?
But I will say the commonality is it will be an ensemble cast again. I love writing that. It will be funny. I love writing that. It's much more my vibe. And it's about interpersonal dynamics and relationships, which this book also very much is. But it is set over the holidays. I've always been a huge sucker for Christmas movies.
Yes.
So I just had to do it.
Oh yes, I know. We binge that stuff over
Yeah.
the season. We can't get enough of it.
Agreed. And there's never enough material.
So, which of the characters in the lifestyle did you feel came the most naturally? I mean, obviously, you identified most with Georgina, I assume, but who felt like the most? As sometimes someone will say, like, oh, you're really working on a character and they change a lot in the course of draft to draft. And sometimes you'll hear that somebody was just so alive on their own that it was kind of that character was telling them where it was going versus the other way around.
Georgina and I have a lot of traits in common, meaning we are both lawyers. We both are around the same age. We are married. We lived in New York. But personality-wise, we are not the same. I'm much more timid than she is. She's very confident. She encounters her demons throughout the book. But she's very headstrong in the beginning. I wouldn't really use that word to describe myself. So sometimes it was actually really difficult for me to write her. But that's where the Emma commonality comes in. I looked to that iconic character who is so lovable and has her heart in the right place, but can definitely come across as very meddling and annoying at times. I would say Nora was probably the easiest for me to write. I felt like I really understood her. She's struggling between wanting to do the best for her family and also wanting to have a career. And I think I identified with that because being a lawyer, it's hard. It can take over your life.
Yeah. How does this change the law for you and your relationship with your career that you had invested so much time and energy and years and study and money in?
Yes, I did make a career shift during the course of this novel. I left my previous job and I wrote full-time for 6 months, which was amazing. Then I ended up going back to work, but I'm not really practicing anymore. I'm helping run the pro bono program at my firm, which is something I also am really passionate about. So I feel like I have the best of both worlds now.
Nice. Yeah. That's a great balance.
Yeah.
And you also contribute articles to other sites right?
I dabble in nonfiction. I wrote, recently I wrote an essay actually about the connection between Jane Austen and swinging because I don't think that's very intuitive for many people. But I wanted to explore the fact that Jane Austen was writing in the early 1800s. And while her books might seem outdated to us, I think at the time they were actually pretty controversial in some ways because her main characters were really challenging the rules of marriage. Like Emma, for example, didn't want to get married. She has her happy ending, but I don't think that was very common at the time. Right. I think women were much more interested in the outcome of their marriage because it determined their whole life. And then Elizabeth Bennet, the main character of Pride and Prejudice, she's so feisty and rebellious, and she does not want to marry the richest man in town, even though he's in love with her. So I wrote about how Jane Austen really challenged the rules of marriage, and I think that's what this book does as well.
Well, and there's a reason why people still connect with these stories, and they're still, being retold in all different types of ways, and the originals are still meaningful, especially to a lot of female readers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that if Jane Austen's main characters were women who all they cared about was finding the perfect rich husband, I don't think we'd be reading those books anymore.
No. It wouldn't be timeless like they are, right? Yeah. It's all about conflict and about pushing the boundaries and making your own rules.
Exactly. And in Georgina's case, when she finds out her husband's having an affair, she thinks, well, if you're not going to play by the rules, I will change the rules. And you have to respect that. And that's how she regains control of her own life.
Yeah, and it's a very fresh perspective. I mean, she is a great character. I mean, it was really fun to see her navigate the world and with her a very unique way, and just that self-assuredness that was very impressive. Very,
Okay, good.
very impressive.
I'm glad you connected with her.
And I know that I just recently was looking at some of your other work or what you had written. You wrote an essay, more of a personal essay recently about family planning and about struggling with fertility.
Yes.
And those themes are so much of what I read about. I find, that kind of, the plight of life as a mom, whether it's the struggle to become a mom or it not living up to what you think it's going to be, especially after all of that time period. Is that something that you think you would be working into fiction at some time?
I definitely think so. I did write an essay about my 4.5-year journey with infertility and how hard it was.
Yeah.
And I was really glad that I put that out there because the response was amazing. I was utterly blown away by how many women responded with what they're going through. It made me feel so connected, so comforted, and also really lucky because I felt like, I had been through so much, but just to hear about what other women had been through, it's hard to be a woman.
Yeah, it is. That statement is incredibly true, and that is that's a very. I went through the same thing, and it's a very all-consuming, redefining experience because it's thinking about. And I think that some of that perspective, it feels like at least, is that insight is sort of in this. It's not in this story, but I think it's in the writing because of the way that other factors in the world in our lives can impact a marriage and kind of take hold of a marriage. A marriage is kind of like a living, breathing, changing thing. And when something becomes a singular focus that you both want and you can't have something and you feel there's a failure and shame and time and money and pain and all of this stuff, it's very hard.
Yeah, exactly. And the character of Nora, she has children. Infertility is not her issue, but motherhood affected her marriage greatly.
Yeah.
And in the end, well, I don't want to give away the end.
Right. Wait, stop. Rewind.
Yeah,
sound
exactly.
effect.
It affected her marriage greatly, and that's
Yes.
something that she has to deal with.
Yes. Well, I wish you all of the best of luck
Thank
in your journey, however it proceeds. Sometimes it's just about stepping back and taking a break.
Yeah, I did take a break actually in the summer of 2021, and it was very necessary just to feel like I was back in control of my own body. It was so refreshing.
Now, I'm not surprised that you got great response to that because and we just did a segment recently on our morning newscast here in town, and it's I think it's for Infertility Awareness Month, and so it's people are always surprised how many people have experienced that in some way, and so it's good to not have that sense of isolation with it.
Yeah.
Well, this was very exciting, Taylor. I want to congratulate you on your debut novel. Look forward to what's to come.
Thank you.
And you have a website. People can find you on social media. Where are they tracking you down?
Yes, Instagram is the best place, and my handle is Taylor Shea Hahn. I'm on Twitter, but I'm really awful at it, so Instagram is better.
And don't forget the Spotify playlist.
Yes, please listen to the playlist. I guarantee it's fun.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You're going to have a great time with that playlist. So maybe if you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, then it'll be easy. You'll just click right over, and I know you're going to want to favorite that. So the book is The Lifestyle. It is available now. Taylor, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Taylor Hahn, The Lifestyle. Very fun book and fun conversation. So time for a moment with Margaret. Obviously, that book is a very playful play on Emma, a Jane Austen classic. Yeah. So you were sniffing out some books that are also kind of a take on a classic that are a good time.
Yeah. We'll talk about other adaptations of other things, but one of the riffing on the classics that has come up for me in the last couple of years is Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors by Sonali Dev. This is a culinary twist on the back and forth between Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy.
Ooh.
We love a Pride and Prejudice moment.
Yeah.
happens in so many books. That is the Mr. Darcy whole thing. We talked Bridget Jones, same thing. All these big plays on that. There's just something about that relationship that continuously has authors making plays on this. But this is a culinary family that is Indian, living in California.
Ooh.
So there's a great twist there. It's just it's a different dynamic than maybe you would like another white girl and a white boy enjoying their. This is a whole other culture and why they act the ways that they do based on their family upbringings and their cultural background.
Yeah.
I loved it. Also made me very hungry. I love Indian food, so I'm like,
gosh,
right
I love
there.
Indian food, and also that sort of like feeds that Bridgerton fix too, right? I mean, because when you're thinking about the courtship and all that stuff, and
Sure.
you're not.
Oh, I don't watch Bridgerton. I do not. Is this something I should?
Not even the first season.
Mm-mm.
Whoa!
I know. I think I was just busy watching back episodes of Love Island,
Oh my.
Probably.
Okay. Well,
which fed the soul in a whole.
yeah, I don't wish like a severe summer cold on you at all, but if you do happen to have one, you might enjoy binging that one season. I'm just saying.
Well, maybe not cold.
No, a foot cramp or something. I mean, we were just out on a date with one of my best friends from college and her husband, and we were laughing so hard because her husband kept saying about, and I can't remember the actor's name, the main guy from from season 1, and he's in a car commercial right now, and we were like, he's just a beautiful man. I mean, you just have to admit it. He's an absolutely gorgeous. Yes, he's an absolutely gorgeous man, whom you get to see a lot of in Bridgerton.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, it gets the fix. It's just not set in that period of time.
Yes, contemporary.
But it gives you that like Mr. Darcy. I mean, nothing beats Colin Firth though, so please don't even try.
I recently, and I can't remember why, it happened to be I was in a mood and I turned on Bridget Jones. Like I queued it up, I saw it come up, and I just decided to watch it, and I was like, I love this movie.
And Hugh Grant.
So
in his heyday.
It has lost nothing for me after all of those years and all of the times I've seen it.
The one thing that gets me like revved up is her constant moaning about I'm so fat. And 120 pounds. I'm like, listen, lady, come back to me.
But it's what do you write in your diary, right?
Yeah, I'm a fat cow. And it's like
you'll never find love.
Yeah, no. Although I did with a coworker, we were talking about we were shooting video at a fire station, and I made a joke about like we need video of them coming down on the fire pole, and I sent a GIF from her having that moment as being a producer for Sit Up Britain, and she does that, and they're like, no, go back up. I cued her too soon. She's trying to climb back up the pole,
tights and everything.
Yeah, amazing,
classic.
Oh,
classic.
Yes. There is a book that you can read. I would suggest that you do, but also once you read it, then you watch the movie and back.
And oddly, I mean, it was so long ago, but that was one of those things that I remember loving the book so much. I'm like, how could they make this into a movie? And how could they make it with an American? I mean, I was just like, I did not understand what was happening. And I just was like, wow, they just did the very, very best.
I think they actually did a really good job.
Amazing job. One of the few books that I think if you love the book, you can love the movie equally so, if not more.
Yeah, you can almost pretend Renee Zellweger is British.
She becomes her to me.
Colin Firth kind of takes care of that.
That's him.
So, then now we're going to transition away from Jane Austen to a little Shakespearean.
Okay.
Going back a little bit. Did you read this book in high school? Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead.
I did not.
By Tom Stoppard.
Yet another bit of evidence of the poor education that I received. Go on.
Wow. Good on you, Bakersfield High School. You.
Come on, Whittier.
Drillers. We were just drilling this into our brains. This is a bird's eye view of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, who are very small characters within Hamlet. This is their like tragic comedy version. They're watching Hamlet. They're giving you the spiel of what's happening from their viewpoint. But
Very clever.
yeah, it's very funny. It's also not,
Mhm.
and it's just really interesting.
So those are the kind of books too, probably, if you experience them as a student where you're assigned something
Mhm.
and then you revisit it later as an adult, you're
Mhm.
probably like, oh, my
Enjoy it
God,
more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I think it's time for a revisit for me
Uh-huh.
because I remember enjoying it, but flipping through pages a little bit faster than I
Right.
probably should
Yeah.
have. And the thing is, it's like this is also a play, and as it would be, and so you could probably experience it in a good amount of time. Also, for us California transplants, the Rosencrantz is very important to
Mhm.
know if you are
Mhm.
in the LA area.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very important street to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Comes up on every freeway. There's an exit for it everywhere. So just make sure you know how to say Rosencrantz, but also maybe stay off Rosencrantz. That would be my general advice to those going through Southern California.
So I like that, thinking about some of the classic twists on the classics. And
Ready for the one that really. So I was getting these together.
Okay.
This is what I thought of. Not a book.
Mm-hmm.
10 Things I Hate About You. One of
And-
the best adaptations, although Clueless is also one. I feel like
Oh,
the 90s.
Clueless is
90s just got it right
Yes.
with these adaptations of these classics like Clueless. I mean,
so
that's
10 Things I Hate About You is what story?
my,
It's Julia Stiles.
Taming of the Shrew,
Oh, Taming of the Shrew.
which
Yes.
is
okay.
my favorite, aside
Uh-huh.
from Much Ado About Nothing.
Yes.
As far as Shakespeare goes.
Wow.
Which Much Ado About Nothing with Kenneth Branagh, whole other story of fun.
Yes.
Love Kenneth Branagh.
Yes, I do too.
Didn't know for a very long time that he was married to Emma Thompson in his
Mhm.
early days. And they are just both
Mhm.
incredible. But 10 Things I Hate About You is very much like the perfect adaptation of it.
Mhm.
Sure. In his glory. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yes, I love
I
him.
mean,
I have
Styles,
a
of
major crush on him.
course.
I like him a
Oh,
lot.
That's Jenny.
Oh, she's so good in everything.
She's writing an erotic novel. She's the guidance counselor. She's writing an erotic novel. It's amazing. It's just like it.
Oh, yes.
Who's the OBGYN who doesn't want his kids get pregnant?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay, it's been too long since I've seen that movie, so now I really feel like
it's time to watch it.
I'll do a revisit.
It's Netflix.
Oh, I'm sure it's got to be on something.
I'm fairly certain it's on.
Of the 27 streaming services that I have, I hope to be able to find it and not have to pay extra.
Man,
I'll be really mad if I do.
every time I think that I'm done getting streaming services, somebody goes, "You don't watch Ted Lasso?" I'm like, how many streaming services do I really
No,
have?
but you have to watch Ted Lasso.
I know.
No, but you have to. You can get rid of something else. You can get rid of something else. Yeah, we're having that conversation about Paramount Plus. That's my one holdup.
Nope.
We don't have that right now.
Nope. Love Paramount.
You have to have that?
I have Paramount from somebody else. I have Peacock. Peacock
I
is
have
the
Peacock.
thing that I
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah, at Peacock.
I think based on being a CBS affiliate, I feel
Mhm.
like the CBS affiliates should get access.
I wonder. I
But
can't even remember what it is. I think it's like some obscure soccer that Tony thinks is on Peacock. Oh, and then Yellowstone.
yeah,
That's where that is.
Peacock
right?
has all the extra Real Housewives stuff, which is hysterical because
No, Peacock I've got. So I've
Yeah.
got all of that.
Paramount has
Yeah.
RuPaul's Drag Race for me,
Uh-huh.
which adore. Survivor, huge thing for
Okay,
me. Also,
yeah.
Big Brother, you can also watch all of them.
Uh-huh.
Although last season was not good, but and
Yeah.
and if you like what my family friends call white man solves crime,
As a genre?
NCI, it's NCIS,
Oh, it is, yeah.
it's Blue Bloods. It's
Oh, yeah.
literally every old white guy solves crime.
He's here to save the day, people. That'll never change.
The other genre is former rapper solves crime.
Oh, yeah, because
That's Queen Latifah. That's
Oh.
Ice-T. That's LL Cool J.
yeah,
my
you're
God.
right.
It's
I love
hysterical.
LL Cool J. I do like that Equalizer with Latifah.
Okay, I will say when I was in California for my extended period of time, he was like Equalizer, Blue Bloods. It's like my dad was in control of the
Yeah,
television, as per usual, and I actually really enjoyed Equalizer.
Well, also, yeah, I like the whole cast of that. And she's, yeah, you're like, okay, I buy that. And also when doesn't matter how adult you are, if you're watching television with your parents, you do not want to have any sex scenes come on or anything of that nature. There is nothing
No.
worse. So
You're like,
network, primetime television all day
Oh,
long.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
yeah, 2020. We're big
Yeah.
on Dateline.
Dream
2020.
Survivor all day.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. I got my family into The Amazing Race.
Oh,
because the
that's a
new season
great
had started,
one.
And
Yeah.
the Holderness family was on it.
We watched that
Yeah.
season.
So The Amazing Race is my like Saturday morning, because it used to air on Fridays. It was my Saturday morning. I've made myself a very fancy breakfast, and I'm gonna watch the show while eating
nice.
it. So it's
Yeah.
very special to me.
I love that. I love that show. And it's one of the few things that you can watch with everybody of all ages. And it's also cool. And if you love to travel, you're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I want to go
And
there
you're
or
like,
there.
"Cool, yeah. let me write
Yeah.
that down."
I
So,
know.
yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Margaret. So many ideas. We just need more hours in the day as usual because now I've got my mind on television shows and books.
And movies.
Yikes. Okay. This has been another moment with Margaret. Thanks for listening. Happy reading. Thanks for listening to Olivia's Book Club, the podcast. I'm your host, Olivia Fierro. Our producer is Margaret Stewart. Our editor is Nick Sanchez. You can send us an email with your thoughts or your book recommendations. Olivia's Book Club at azfamily.com is the address. And you can check out Olivia's Book Club on Facebook or find us on Instagram. Hello, Bookstagrammers, at olivias.bookclub. And Margaret is at Overbooked and Overdue. Make sure to rate and subscribe to this podcast and tell your friends. You can find us on Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Amazon Music.